Spoilers ahead. Hello and welcome to Take Two, another movie podcast. He is Jason and I am...
John, hello.
Hello. In this episode That was really good. In this episode we'll be discussing two films starring Meryl Streep. Heartburn from 1986 and Postcards from the Edge from 1990. Both films directed by Mike Nichols. So, why Meryl Streep? Why Meryl Streep?
Because Meryl Streep is wonderful.
She is wonderful.
She's one of the best actresses ever.
I would agree. With 3 Academy Award wins from 21 nominations.
Wow.
8 Golden Globes from 32 nominations. And 2 BAFTAs under her belt. I think she is generally, she's
an acting legend, and she is beautiful.
She's gorgeous. Enormously versatile, with notable roles in dramatic films as well as comedies and musicals. And
she's done all sorts of things.
She might be great, but she ain't done a Jarlo, has she?
She hasn't. But listen, there's still time.
There's still time, yeah.
Still time.
Come on, Daria, give her a ring. I think everybody knows Sophie's Choice and Kramer versus Kramer and Bridges of Madison County and The Devil Wears Prada and The Iron Lady and The Deer Hunter and so on and The Hours and whatever. Adaptation even. But we're going to be covering 2 films from around the same period. 2 perhaps lesser known or perhaps even lesser appreciated.
I think not really sort of films that you would say, name me a Meryl Streep film and you would suddenly turn around and say, oh, Heartburn.
Oh, Heartburn.
Yeah. Even a Jack Nicholson film, you wouldn't say Heartburn.
No. Does Jack Nicholson even remember that he was in this movie?
Probably not.
No, but he enjoyed the paycheck. But before all of that, I just want to know one thing. What have you been watching?
Well, I have been watching a film called The Invitation.
Yes.
And I have to say...
Is it sore?
It's not, and I have to say that I was very disappointed I was invited to this because it literally was just another Dracula film. I literally got the premise of the film when they said that the location was New Carfax Abbey, and I turned to my wife and said, "That's Dracula.
Right,
that's Dracula's home."
Right. Doesn't Dracula or indeed vampires have to be invited into a home? Isn't that
yes, they do.
So
they do. You're right.
Was that not a giveaway?
Probably, but I didn't think it was about that. I didn't even know what it was about.
An invitation.
Yes, and I've also been watching the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I've been getting my way through them.
And how have you found those?
I found them, well, the first one I think is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And the second one, not so great.
I like the second one.
Unnecessary sequel, I think.
I like the second one.
I wish they'd just gone from the first one to the third one, because I think the third one is a lot of fun.
The third one's fantastic.
Yeah, there's great there's real imaginative kills and
quotes. Everything.
Great quotes.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, love it. What have you been watching?
I finally caught In the Folds of the Flesh, a 1970 giallo from Sergio Bergonzelli, I think it's pronounced. It's nuts.
Right.
And the Mondo Macabro release is excellent.
Right.
It's a really fitting release for that particular label, I think. Also called The Collector and its sequel, The Collection.
I've seen The Collector. I didn't like it.
No, it's okay.
I didn't like it.
2 very decent, low-budget Saw-like films.
Okay.
And I watched Temple of Doom this morning, which I love. I might watch all of the Indiana Jones films over this weekend.
Right.
Because I love Temple of Doom. It's not the best, but I do love it. Heartburn is a 1986 comedy drama from Mike Nichols starring Meryl Streep and Jack Nicholson, with a supporting cast boasting the likes of Stocker Channing, Jeff Daniels and briefly Kevin Spacey.
Very briefly, yeah. Very young Kevin Spacey too.
Yes.
Yes,
he likes him young, doesn't he? From a screenplay written by Nora Ephron of When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle fame, based on her novel of the same name. Apparently a semi-autobiographical account of her marriage to Carl Bernstein. Carl Bernstein was one of the Watergate journalists.
Okay,
fine. We follow New York food writer Rachel, who is wooed by Washington political journalist Mark, as you would be, and they marry. And together they purchase a ramshackle townhouse. Rachel struggles with life in Washington and the stresses of renovating this place, putting considerable strain upon their relationship. The couple have a little child. played by Meryl Streep's real-life daughter, Annie, if you didn't know.
Really?
Yeah, and Rachel soon learns of Mark's extramarital goings-on with a woman named Thelma. Rachel walks away with their daughter, returning to New York to resume her work as a food writer. Mark comes crawling back because, of course, why would you leave Meryl Streep? She loses her wedding ring in a burglary. They have another kid, but she never really trusts him. Yeah? And for very good reason. As she discovers that he has purchased an expensive bracelet for Thelma.
Necklace, wasn't it?
Oh, was it a necklace?
Yeah.
I thought it was a bracelet. Okay.
I think it was a necklace.
It was a month ago since I've seen that.
That's all right. It's fine.
Rachel up and leaves with the kids for good. I'll get into my thoughts because I think you have way more to say about this.
Right.
It's interesting. It's generally well made. There are some powerful dramatic moments. There are some interesting characters, some decent exchanges, and some light comedy. But for me, it doesn't really resonate, and it felt a bit slow. How do you feel?
Yeah, I thought it was definitely slow. Felt a long film.
Yeah.
I think most of the acting performance is done on Meryl Streep. The film is more on her shoulders.
It's really on her shoulders. I think Jack Nicholson is okay. I hate his character.
Yeah, his character is awful.
Yeah.
One thing I hated about the film, and I knew this was going to happen straight away when in the wedding scene at the beginning, where she meets him.
Yeah.
When I heard Carly Simon, and I thought, oh no, because I don't like Carly Simon's music. I mean, I love Working Girl, but that Let the River Run, I think it's called.
Sure.
All the way through the film, I hate it.
That's one of the standout points for me in this movie.
I hate
Carly Simon's soundtrack is fantastic.
I can't stand any films where it's the same thing all the time. It's the same. If Star Wars would be the same. I mean, I love Star Wars, but if it was the main Star Wars theme all the way through it, I would be like, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, I get it. I think Coming Around Again is a really, really strong song from this, but yeah, as you say, it is a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good soundtrack, and for me, it's one of, with the exception of Meryl Streep's performance, is one of the actual high points of the film.
Well, not for me.
Oh, well, fine.
I do love the fact that they kiss in front of a cinema marquee that reads Mephisto.
Okay.
So that's...
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So for all the Marvel fans out there, Mephisto confirmed.
Okay. Who's playing Mephisto?
Apparently...
This is going to be a Marvel talk because we've got nothing to talk about in this movie.
The rumour is Sacha Baron Cohen at the moment.
This is recorded on the 19th or 20th of November 2022, folks. So if you've got it wrong, then...
Yeah, it probably might not be him.
I love it.
I would like Al Pacino personally.
Why?
Because he wants to be in a Marvel film and he's like knocking down their door going like, let me in one of your films. Come on, I'll be anybody. How about Mephisto?
Okay.
Hoo-ah, I'll take it. Sorry to Al Pacino out there if he's listening to it.
Well, I know Al Pacino's a big fan.
He's not. Also, I noticed that... And have you ever seen a couple eat spaghetti out of the same bowl except in the movie Lady and the Tramp?
I have not.
No, and I thought it was really weird. I mean, I've been married for nearly 15 years and I still would not be doing that, especially as I want my spaghetti to myself.
You wouldn't share the same toothbrush, would you?
No.
No. Even though you're married to
That's the weirdest thing, isn't it, about the toothbrush thing? That,
Why?
like, you can be the most intimate with that person and been with that person the longest. But the thought of using their toothbrush...
just fills you with...
I'll use my wife's cutlery. If she's finished with her meal and she'll say, like, I've got a little bit left.
There's not really much difference between toothbrush and
cutlery. It's not, but it's just something about the toothbrush that you're just like, ugh, no. It's a bit like hairbrush. I don't think I would use my wife's hairbrush either.
Why?
I don't know. Weird. I don't know. Anyway, there was a few bits about this I did like. I mean, as you mentioned, they bought a house.
Yes.
And I could only laugh when the Hungarian contractor, who spoke English very badly, when Mark gets really upset and has an outburst, turns around and says, "She is very angry at me," because I just thought that was hilarious.
It was funny. Yeah, there are some funny moments in it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I didn't like the whole thing where Mark kept singing, was eating pizza and singing songs about baby.
There's a lot of eating in this film.
Yeah, there was a lot of eating
and
an
argument when
the singing after he finds out she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Just a lot of singing by Jack Nicholson. I'm just like, why is he singing so much?
He should release an album.
I have to say that baby, considering that was Meryl Streep's baby, God, it was not the prettiest baby, was it?
You shut your mouth.
I feel awful now because I was watching the film and thinking, oh my God, well, they could have given her a better looking baby, and now you've told me that actually is her baby. I feel awful.
Streep, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it feels a bit too grounded and naturalistic at times, and perhaps a bit mean-spirited. I think the pace at which this whirlwind... it's going to go sour, isn't it? But the pace at which it goes sour is a bit funny, is a bit odd. With this being a semi-autobiographical story, I presume Nora Ephron is drawing from some pretty heavy experiences.
And probably painful as well. Painful experience, really, isn't it? Because a guy cheating on you. I mean, one of the things that occurred to me when I was watching it, I think it wasn't until I'd finished watching it that it sort of dawned on me that this woman, I mean, it was obvious to me that he was having the affair when they turned around and they said, oh, Thelma Rice is having an affair with somebody.
Right.
Nobody knows who. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well it's obvious.
Yeah.
But there was no real explanation to why Mark did what he did. He didn't explain to her. He didn't say, she was blissfully happy with the child. He seemed happy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she finds out he's having an affair, and it just seems like, well, explain yourself. Well, I'm not going to explain myself. I'm not going to explain why.
Yeah.
Was it the fact she didn't give him any attention? Was it, what was it? Was it just that he was a douchebag and that he just likes women? And
I think with this being an semi-autobiographical story, I think the portrayal of Mark, or Carl Bernstein, whichever way you want to look at it, the portrayal of Mark is a bit of a scumbag.
He is,
and maybe that is just Nora Ephron trying to. Yeah, I think there is an element of self-pity in there, and perhaps also a bit of victim. Nora Ephron is perhaps the victim in some way.
Yeah, I think Meryl Streep's character in it, it acts like a victim. Very weak.
But this is Nora Ephron this is a semi-autobiographical story, so presumably this is everything you say about Meryl Streep is presumably Nora Ephron. So presumably she's painting it. It just seems kind of odd.
See, I didn't know that when I watched it. But one thing that did strike a chord with me was when she mentions that she wished when she goes back with him, and she's unhappy after the affair. Yeah. She mentions that she wishes he was dead.
Oh.
Now, this was something that my grandmother was cheated on a lot by my grandfather.
Oh, God, okay.
And it was simply out of, not because he wasn't happy with her, it was because he was a bit of a douchebag and just liked women. He was a womanizer.
Naughty boy.
He was. And I remember my grandmother saying the same thing to me years ago.
Okay.
That she wished one day that, like, when he went out to work, that he would crash his car and die.
Oh,
so this is obviously a theme, so, the woman feels so hurt that in a lot of ways they feel, I wish you were actually dead rather than still around, because the fact you're still around, you're still hurting me in a way, and if you were dead I could just cry you out and it would all be finished, I suppose. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that comes into because the crumbling house is a metaphor for the relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
This lousy dilapidated house that they can't patch up.
No, yeah.
Is a metaphor for the relationship, I think. And the couple must work hard, perhaps in vain. Perhaps in your so vain, to repair it. I think Meryl Streep is fantastic.
She is.
I think it's a really layered performance as the long-suffering wife.
Yeah.
Her performance in the scene in which she gives birth to the first kid, and there are complications, is absolutely excellent. I think that carries such weight. I like Jack Nicholson. He has that eyebrow fluttering charisma that he has, which would woo any human into marriage. I like the performance, but I hate that character.
Right. I didn't think that the two of them had a lot of chemistry.
No.
I found Meryl Streep seems to have more chemistry with women, and I don't mean in a love type thing. I mean in a more kind of like
kind of thing.
No, more like sort of mother-daughter or sisters, or rather than with other men in a film in a romantic way. I think
Kramer versus Kramer.
Jack Nicholson I don't think has a lot of charisma with a lot of people. I mean, he had a lot of charisma in Witches of Eastwick with the actresses.
I think there's a ton of charisma.
No, I don't mean.
And I think he has.
I mean chemistry. Sorry.
Well, with female actors.
Yeah, well, just with some actors in general. That like yeah, well, yeah. In The Shining, I don't think he has an awful lot of chemistry with her.
Again, that's a crumbling marriage, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of chemistry with Helen Hunt in As Good as It Gets.
Yeah, sure, I'd agree.
And in Witches of Eastwick, as I mentioned, he's got a lot of chemistry with the actresses in that.
Yeah,
especially Cher, I think. So, but that's about it. And the weird Incy Wincy spider mashup at the end was weird.
Do you have any recommendations based on this film?
Yes, I do. I have Frankie and Johnny.
Okay.
Starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Al Pacino.
I've never seen that. Al Pacino again.
Yes. Hoo-ha! Yes, that's a sort of...
Mephisto.
That's a mundane sort of love story thing. When Harry Met Sally, and
I
you
would
said
say
anything
by Nora Ephron.
Terms of Endearment, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And The Accidental Tourist. Although I love The Accidental Tourist.
Yes,
I do love that film.
I'm aware of your love for that.
Yes. It's a film about grief and pain, and also the sort of splitting up of a marriage as well. So,
yeah.
Postcards
from the Edge is a 1990 comedy drama from Mike Nichols from a script by Carrie Fisher, based on her semi-autobiographical novel. 2 films starring Meryl Streep, directed by Mike Nichols, based on semi-autobiographical novels. The film stars Meryl Streep, Shirley MacLaine and Dennis Quaid in the central roles, with the likes of Gene Hackman, Richard Dreyfuss and Rob Reiner in supporting roles. We follow actress Suzanne, a recovering drug addict who is placed under the care of her overbearing mother, Doris, after suffering an overdose. Suzanne sets out to get her life together and meets producer Jack. The two enjoy a brief courtship before Suzanne discovers that Jack is being unfaithful. How could you be unfaithful to Meryl Streep? This is 2 in a row now.
I don't know.
Leading to a funny scene involving Suzanne confronting Jack while dressed as a police officer's costume, which I loved that scene. Suzanne also discovers that her agent has been diddling her accounts, which is very naughty. Doris crashes her car while completely wasted, and the two kind of reconcile. Suzanne begins to form a relationship with her doctor, sort of. I think she sort of shoos him away, but
he's on the back burner really throughout the film, isn't he?
She's picking up her life.
Yeah.
And the film closes with a beautiful rendition with "I'm Checking Out of This Heartbreak Hotel."
Yes, very good.
I haven't seen this film in years. I absolutely love this film.
So do I.
It's a film certainly of its time. It's really well written, really quotable, and really acutely directed. I think Fisher and Nichols have working on the same wavelength with this one. Certainly autobiographical. It's the story of an eccentric recovering addict actor on the surface, but it's really a sort of mother-daughter
it's about the
relationship
sort of
story.
Issues and dynamics between mother and daughter.
I never knew Carrie Fisher, oddly enough, and I never knew Debbie Reynolds, but I suspect the performances really echo their real life personalities.
Yes.
Meryl Streep is basically playing Carrie Fisher in this. And I think she delivers a fantastic performance.
So does Shirley MacLaine. The chemistry between those two is amazing.
Juggling
fabulous.
That sensitivity, that real
and the banter between
with
them.
Comedic chops.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep's really funny at this.
Yeah.
And of course, Shirley MacLaine is immense.
Yes, definitely.
In every single scene. There's a somewhat conflicting antagonistic nature with this nurturing side to it.
Yeah.
There is love, but there's also frustration, perhaps, between the two. Shirley MacLaine, or Doris, banging out "I'm Still Here" is incredible.
I'm still here in D flat.
Indeed. She's very clearly pointing her finger at Suzanne. She has been there. She has done that. Her star is perhaps fading a bit.
Yeah.
But she's so powerful, and it's an absolute joy to watch. So, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, I've seen this film quite a few times, and I love it. It's fantastic. The central characters are brilliant.
Their chemistry is ridiculous.
And there's some weird stuff in it, like you mentioned, about when she confronts her boyfriend about Jack
in the police officer's thing,
and she pulls up in her car.
Yes.
Did you notice the horses in the background? One of the horses back kicks the other horse.
I didn't notice that. No.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's such an odd thing, because I just think to myself, that must have happened naturally.
Oh, of course it did. Yeah, it must have done.
Yeah, but in the background, this horse like literally kicks back at this other horse.
Symbolism, isn't it?
I suppose so. The other thing I noticed was there was a person dressed as Freddy Krueger in the background when she's meeting with, Annette Bening's character.
Yeah.
There's that.
Okay.
Which I also noticed. I also noticed the cameo from Ted Raimi.
Ted Raimi? I didn't know.
Ted Raimi when
she's Ted Raimi?
Well, when Jack pulls her up in the beginning, when she's OD'd.
Okay.
He's standing outside the hospital.
What's he doing there?
I don't know. He should be on the set of Evil Dead, shouldn't he? He shouldn't be hanging around there.
Oh, my friend Ash is in hospital.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many funny things about it. Like the endorphin rush. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
There's so many great lines in it. I mean, I love the bit where where Doris visits her daughter.
Yeah.
And she's got a friend called Aretha, and she says, "Aretha, what an unusual name." And she says, "I know. I think my parents expected someone black."
It's really funny. There are some really, really good lines in it.
Yeah.
There's also some neat satirical stuff involving Hollywood, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I think they satirise.
And I love the bit on the stairs.
That.
You know the backwards and forwards on the stairs where she says, "Remember my 17th birthday party when you lifted up your skirt in front of all those people?" And she goes, "I did not lift up my skirt, it twirled up." I just love the way she says that. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And she confronts her about her alcoholism, and she's like,
yeah.
Obviously, like any alcoholic, she goes, "Well, I haven't got a problem. I just drink like an Irish person now."
I personally felt the addiction issues are perhaps undercooked.
Yeah.
I would have...
well, hers definitely is.
You see some of the consequences to using drugs and alcohol, but I may have preferred the film to have gone a bit deeper to give some of the other events a bit more weight.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to suffer, but I want a bit more weight.
It's done in a light-hearted way, really, isn't it? A lot of it.
Light,
yeah, I mean, even when she's having her stomach pumped, it's funny because, like, oh, do I have to be there?
Right.
It's light, isn't it?
It's light, whereas I think you should have gone a bit harder, and I think that would have given it a bit more weight.
Drug and drink problems are not really...
They're not fun.
No, they're not fun, and they're not funny. They're not funny things either.
I love the Hollywood stuff. I love that mother and daughter are competitive actors. Right.
Yeah, the mother is in a way, and she says this, that she's jealous because she's had her time, and her daughter is now having her time, and and this is a common thing because I remember when I was young, I went on holiday with my dad.
You're still young.
And my dad actually said to me, we were sitting in this room, and there was a mirror, and he said, "Look at you, look how young you are." Sort of, and I got this impression that, kind of like, look how young you are, and I'm not young anymore, and sort of kind of like...
That's quite a strong existential question to have to deal with.
Yeah, because I really got the impression that my dad was jealous because I was a young man.
You've taken his youth.
Well, I hadn't taken his youth, but my dad was probably about my age now, probably just like mid-40s.
Okay.
Yeah, that was odd. It was an odd experience, but I got that sort of memory from when she says, I'm jealous of you, and I don't understand the jealousy thing because...
Well, they're competitive actors, aren't they? It's a competitive business, perhaps.
Yeah. I think this is why actors don't tend to stay married to each other because of the competitiveness. A lot of them don't.
Sure.
Because one outshines the other sometimes.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Just caught me off guard there. And on-set relationships are explored as well, such as that scene between, Gene Hackman's Lowell, is it? Lowell.
Yeah.
And Meryl Streep saying, like, don't destroy my movie or whatever it is. Wow.
They were really good. they were actually really good together, considering Gene Hackman wasn't in a lot of that film.
No, it's more of
the scene where he sort of forgives her and she does the looping.
A heck of a, I can't think of a better living actor than Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
I know Gene Hackman's like 90 now, but
he's a great actor.
What an actor to get for such a relatively tiny role.
Yeah,
and what he brings to that as well, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Rob Reiner. He'll just do any old little tidbit, won't he?
You leave Rob Reiner alone.
He's
been like Reiner. A father to you.
I love him.
I enjoyed it's quite an insight into Hollywood with the on-set relationships, the iffy management stuff, the competitiveness, and such.
I need to ask you the question, what did you think of CCH Pounder?
Fine.
Don't you think she has the weirdest name?
Yes.
Doesn't she sound like an MMA fighter?
Is it stranger than Stockard Channing in the?
Yeah, that is a.
That's a bit of a weird.
Yeah, but CCH Pounder sounds like an MMA fighter, doesn't it? Hey, this guy, CCH Pounder,
or a WWE wrestler.
Yes, yeah. Doesn't sound like it's
CCH Pounder.
It's
the
sort of
the best bite machine.
It's sort of a black woman in her 30s. Oh, really?
Sure.
I think doesn't she often play roles where she's kind of a counsellor or a doctor or...
Not 100% familiar with other roles that they've been in, to be honest. Right, but okay. I'm fine in this.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations?
Not really, because I did try and look for films that were similar to this.
Scour your brain for other movies like this.
I would say any semi-autobiographical films. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. But can you think of any?
Like Heartburn, for instance. I think these two movies.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know that was one, did I? I didn't know that was one.
No. There are movies that follow similar themes to this, but they're a bit more harder edge.
I didn't know we were supposed to, like, when we had the films, we were supposed to recommend the other film on the on the premise of.
It's only until I saw both of them I was like, these actually kind of go well together.
Yeah.
28 Days, which is a story about. I've not seen this film in years. 28 Days, starring Sandra Bullock.
Never heard of
it's
it.
a story about a troubled young woman who reluctantly goes to rehab, and I think there are similar things in there. David Cronenberg's Maps to the Stars, which is a much different movie but has similar themes, such as the dysfunctional Hollywood family.
Right.
I think that's a good one.
I've never heard of that either.
I would recommend just watch anything.
I mean, I've heard of David Cronenberg.
Exactly. Just watch anything by David Cronenberg. That's what I would recommend. Just for any movie.
Should I watch that one? What's the one with Batson in?
Which one? He's done a few. I think Batson is in Maps to the Stars, actually.
No, the other one where he's in the limo.
Oh,
it's something
Cosmopolis, I think.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
What
I think
about
I saw
that
on Prime about a year ago. It's good.
Oh, it's all right, is it?
He's in a limo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's best to check it out.
Okay. Has it got any body horror in it?
Not the usual Cronenberg body horror, but there are similar themes and stuff like that. It's a bit quite surreal kind of movie as well.
Okay.
So what have we learned from this?
We have learned don't take drugs.
Don't take drugs.
And don't drink too much unless you are an Irishman like myself.
You're not Irish.
Well, I have a lot of Irish heritage, so
sure.
So that's what I blame my drinking on.
It?
Yeah, that's what I say to my wife. She says you're drinking too much. I say I just drink like an Irishman, So,
yes.
So
Meryl Streep is good, isn't she?
She's fantastic.
Her versatility is incredible.
Yes. She can do anything, really, can't she?
She can juggle anything.
Has she ever done horror?
Well, see, I don't think so. I did a little look-see into her IMDb, and I haven't seen every movie that she's ever made, so I can't vouch whether or not any of the movies that were listed on there were horrors, but I don't think so. I'd love to see her in a horror. Yeah,
I would love to see her in a horror. Also, I watched a YouTube video a while ago about she's really good at accents.
Is she?
Yeah, she does a ton
Sophie's Choice, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and she does a South African accent in another film, I think.
Okay.
Out of Africa, is it?
Sure.
There's a lot of different accents that she does. So, I mean, she's really versatile.
She's very clever.
Yeah.
She's very versatile.
So talented.
She's beautiful, and she's great.
And I just love seeing her in anything. I mean, literally, even when she was
in
that...
voice work, she's good. Such as, like, Fantastic Mr. Fox and things like that.
Yeah.
She's brilliant.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved just seeing her in that film last year with Leo in, the one with the comet.
Yes. Don't Look Up?
Yeah, Don't Look Up.
Hated that.
Okay, but you can't say you hated her in it because she was
I don't hate
a
her.
wonderfully
I don't hate anybody
ignorant president in it. She was wonderful.
I don't, with the exception of maybe Kate Blanchett in it. I don't hate anybody in it.
Right.
But I hated the film.
Did you hate Kate Blanchett in it?
I didn't like Kate Blanchett in it, no.
Oh, I loved her in it. I thought she was awful. I thought she was awful.
She's awful.
Yeah, she's awful, but
maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what she was going for.
Yeah.
And she can sing.
Yes.
Meryl Streep's.
And she seems to me, I mean, obviously I don't know her, but she seems like a very down-to-earth person. Doesn't have that off... some actresses and actors have that offish look, kind of like, don't approach me sort of thing.
You could see her in Tesco, couldn't you?
Well, you could see, yeah. Well, mine... no, I don't know. You could see John Travolta in Tesco. Or Morrison's.
Hey! for those listening, earlier this year in around April time, John Travolta was pictured in a local Morrison's while shooting a
was
film
in Fakenham,
in a place in
UK,
in North Norfolk,
yes,
which is in the east of England.
And he was also
nobody listening to this is going to know where North Norfolk is, so you have to say in the north of the east of England.
John Travolta was seen in Norwich, which is a city in Norfolk,
right,
over the east side of England,
where we are based,
where we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
How the mighty have fallen when John Travolta is just hanging around Morrison's in Fakenham.
I know.
We hope you have enjoyed this lovely episode, and we greatly appreciate your time. You can find us on Letterboxd if you're of a mind. I am Ret Bastard. You are
Kerjerelon.
How's that spelled then?
That is spelled KERJA_RELON.
Kerjerelon, you say?
Yeah, Kerjerelon, yes.
Join us again on the next episode, where we'll be discussing 2 films from Jerry Bruckheimer, 1998's Armageddon and Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yes, you won't want to miss a thing.
You won't want to miss a thing.
So drink up, me hearties, yo-ho.
Arr. Arr. I was John, he was...
Jason.
Okay, let's bye.